All right, let's dive in. Today, we're taking a closer look at Aether Industries.
Aether Industries, yeah. They're a specialty chemicals manufacturer
Yeah,
based in India.
and they're really making a name for themselves with their unique and sustainable approach to chemistry.
Definitely a company to watch in this space.
We've got two key sources for this deep dive, their financial results presentation and the press release, both covering the third quarter and 9 months ending December 31st, 2024.
Lots to unpack here.
There is a major partnership, a fire incident, and some seriously cutting-edge products in development.
Sounds exciting. Let's start with their financials because their growth numbers are, well, impressive.
To say the least, their revenue jumped 40% quarter on quarter,
And an impressive 49% year on year for the 9 months. That's huge.
and their profit after tax is even more eye-catching, 149% quarter on quarter.
Wow, that's remarkable. And 38% year on year. In a market like specialty chemicals, this kind of performance is really noteworthy.
It really is. Shows that their focus on high-value niche products is paying off.
It definitely seems to be working for them.
So let's break down their business segments a little bit, because Aether is not a one-trick pony.
Absolutely not. Pharmaceuticals are still their biggest revenue generator, but they're making significant moves in other areas.
Right, so looking at Q3 of 2024-25, pharmaceuticals make up 48.5% of their revenue.
Which is a significant chunk. But then you've got agrochemicals at 22.8%,
Yeah.
and what they call multiple at 8.8%, gaining traction.
Exactly. And zooming out to the 9-month picture, that multiple segment jumps to 12.2% of revenue.
That's a pretty big jump.
It suggests they're strategically diversifying, which, makes sense to reduce reliance on any one sector.
Makes sense, yeah. Spread the risk.
This multiple segment is intriguing. The presentation doesn't go into a ton of detail.
It does sound like it's a mix of smaller emerging businesses.
Right, so it definitely points to a company that's not afraid to explore new opportunities, stay ahead of the curve.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
Definitely seems that way.
And speaking of staying ahead of the curve, we got to talk about this game-changing partnership with Baker Hughes.
Oh, yeah. Baker Hughes, the global energy giant. This multi-year contract's a major win for Aether.
Absolutely. They'll be manufacturing 6 new products for Baker Hughes globally, with a particular focus on the Indian oil and gas sector.
This goes beyond just revenue, though, right? It's a strategic alliance that boosts Aether's international presence, enhances their technological capabilities.
Absolutely. You can see why it's being hailed as a game changer for them.
I can see why, for sure.
Now, even with all these successes, Aether did face a challenge this past quarter, a fire incident at their Site 2 facility.
Right, in Q3 of fiscal year 24.
Thankfully, though, the Gujarat Pollution Control Board has revoked the closure notice that was issued.
So the facility's back up and running? That's great news.
It is, and Aether has also filed insurance claims for stock loss and is working on a claim for fixed assets, so it seems they've handled the situation, rather well.
It does seem that way. It shows resilience and the ability to manage, unexpected disruptions, which is key for any company, but especially in a dynamic industry like specialty chemicals.
So they've bounced back from the fire, but that hasn't slowed down their expansion plans at all.
No, not one bit. Aether is firing on all cylinders when it comes to growth.
Their Site 3++A, which is an expansion of an existing facility, is on track to be commissioned by the end of fiscal year 25.
That's coming up soon.
And Site 4 commissioning is already complete, with commercial production expected to start in Q4 FY25. Then there's Site 5.
A brand new facility.
Yep, brand new, with the first phase kicking off in the second half of fiscal year 26. Ambitious, right?
It is, but these expansions really highlight their confidence in the future demand for their products.
It really does show they're in it for the long haul.
Committed, yeah.
And it's not just about expansion for expansion's sake. Aether is clearly committed to sustainability. They even commissioned a 15 milliW solar power project.
With auto tracker modules, no less. That's impressive.
And it's a significant project, not just because of the cost savings.
Right, it's a real commitment to reducing their carbon footprint.
Yeah.
Contributing to a more sustainable future.
Absolutely. Actions speak louder than words. And speaking of the future, Aether isn't just making chemicals.
They're creating the future.
That's a good way to put it. Diving headfirst into these cutting-edge technologies with dedicated business segments for them.
I mean, one of their newest ventures involves a partnership with Saudi Aramco Technologies Company to develop CO2-based polyols.
Wow. So they're using carbon dioxide to create valuable chemicals.
Yeah, it's a pretty innovative and sustainable solution.
It really is. It's a great example of how they're not just keeping up with industry trends, but actively shaping them.
They're definitely pushing the boundaries here,
And they're also collaborating with Novaloop, Inc. on polymer depolymerization.
which is all about breaking down plastics,
Yeah.
creating a more sustainable material cycle. That's a big one.
Huge. And they've partnered with a global lithium-ion battery producer to develop electrolyte additives, aiming to make batteries more efficient and longer lasting.
That's crucial for the electric vehicle revolution.
Absolutely essential. So we've got this impressive growth story, diversified business segments, commitment to sustainability and innovation. What's not to like?
It's a lot to take in. Aether is clearly a company on the move. It'll be fascinating to dig deeper into their financials, see how they're managing this rapid growth.
For sure. So join us in part 2, where we'll take a closer look at their financial performance and what it all means for their future.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Aether Industries.
Yeah, we've seen their impressive growth and their strategic moves. Now it's time to really dig into their financials, see how they're managing all this expansion.
Right, because growth is great, but has to be sustainable.
Exactly. And that's where these consolidated financial statements come in.
They give us the complete picture of Aether Industries, including their subsidiary. It's like a window into their financial health. We can see how they're using their resources, what their overall position looks like.
So let's start with the statement of assets and liabilities. It's basically a snapshot of what Aether owns and what they owe as of December 31st, 2024.
Right, a balance sheet.
Exactly. And Aether has a strong asset base with total assets of 26,434.6 million.
That's significant. And a large portion of those assets is invested in property, plant, and equipment.
Makes sense given their focus on expanding production capacity.
Right, they're putting their money where their growth plans are.
Now, on the liability side, they have 4,689.53 million, primarily borrowings and lease liabilities.
So the key takeaway here is that their assets significantly outweigh their liabilities.
Right. It points to a pretty healthy financial position.
I'd say so.
So next up, the statement of profit and loss. This tells us how profitable Aether has been over the 9 months leading up to December 31st, 2024.
So their revenue from operations has grown to, let's see, 5,984.94 million.
Another testament to their successful growth strategy.
It is. And, it's interesting to see that their cost of materials has also risen. But
Well, that's to be expected with increased production and sales, right?
yeah, absolutely. It's a natural consequence of growing the business.
And despite those rising costs, Aether has maintained a healthy profit before tax.
1,492.50 million, to be exact.
And their net profit after taxes for the 9 months is 1,081.21 million, which is a solid figure. It really shows they're managing their expenses well and maintaining profitability.
It does, especially considering they had to deal with the fire incident as well.
It speaks to their operational efficiency for sure. All right, last but not least, let's look at the statement of cash flows.
Right. This one tracks the movement of cash in and out of the company. Gives us a sense of their liquidity.
Exactly. So Aether generated 1,260.61 million in cash from its operations, which is a good sign.
Yeah, that's a sign of a healthy, sustainable business model.
But they've also been investing heavily in expansion.
A net cash outflow of 2,879.89 million in investing activities.
To be precise, which, is typical for a growing company.
Oh yeah, they're deploying cash strategically, fueling their expansion plans. You got to spend money to make money, as they say.
And to finance these investments, they've raised capital, resulting in a net cash outflow of 380.72 million in financing activities.
It's a balancing act, right? Generating cash, investing strategically, and raising capital when needed. All part of managing growth.
Seems like they're doing a good job of it.
Their cash flow management looks pretty balanced, yeah. Positive signs for their long-term sustainability.
So all in all, from a financial perspective, Aether seems to be in good shape.
They are. Managing their growth effectively, maintaining profitability. But, the specialty chemicals industry, it's competitive, it's dynamic.
Right, there are always challenges and opportunities ahead.
Exactly. So in part 3, we'll delve into those potential headwinds and tailwinds, explore what the future might hold for this innovative company.
All right, so we've gone through Aether's financials. Really impressive stuff.
They are. But like any company, any growing company, there are always going to be challenges, right?
For sure. What do you think are some of the potential hurdles Aether might face as they continue on this growth trajectory?
Well, one of the biggest, I think, for any company in a fast-growing industry, especially specialty chemicals, is competition.
Makes sense. I mean, it's a global market with some really big players.
Exactly. So how does Aether make sure they stay ahead of the pack?
Yeah. How do they stay competitive?
I think continuous innovation is key.
Keep those new products coming.
Yeah, you got to keep developing new and unique products that meet the evolving market demands.
So they can't just rest on their laurels
No, they got to be constantly pushing the boundaries.
of what's possible in chemistry.
Exactly.
And then there's the volatility of raw material prices.
Oh, right, yeah. Many specialty chemicals rely on very specific raw materials, and those prices can fluctuate a lot.
Because that could really impact their production costs and ultimately their profitability.
Absolutely. So managing their supply chain, really effectively becomes crucial.
Makes sense. Any disruption there, and it could have a ripple effect.
And they need to have strategies in place to mitigate those risks, right? Be agile.
Right. And then, of course, there's the regulatory landscape.
Oh, yeah. The chemical industry, highly regulated,
Yeah.
and for good reason.
Absolutely. So how can Aether make sure they're staying on top of all those regulations while still, fostering innovation?
Yeah, it's a balancing act for sure. They need a strong compliance team that's constantly monitoring, adapting to new regulations.
Both domestically and internationally, right?
Exactly. It's a global game.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges. What about the opportunities? Any trends out there that could benefit Aether in the coming years?
Well, one we've already touched on is this growing demand for sustainable and eco-friendly chemical solutions.
That's a trend we're seeing everywhere, right? Consumers, businesses, everyone's looking for products that are high-performing and environmentally responsible.
Right. And Aether seems to be well-positioned to capitalize on this.
Yeah, with their investments in renewable energy, circular economy solutions, CO2-based chemicals, it seems like they're taking it seriously.
They are. It's not just a buzzword for them.
No.
They're backing it up with action.
And that's what matters. So what else? What other opportunities do you see?
I think the expansion of niche markets. As industries evolve, become more specialized, there's going to be even more demand for these highly tailored chemical solutions.
And that's where Aether's focus on those niche, high-value products really comes into play.
Yeah, they're carving out a space as the experts in specific areas.
Rather than trying to be everything to everyone.
Exactly. Better to be really good at a few things.
And we can't forget about their strategic partnerships, right? I mean, working with companies like Baker Hughes and Saudi Aramco, that opens up whole new markets.
It does, and creates opportunities for knowledge sharing, technological advancement.
Those partnerships are invaluable, especially as Aether ventures into new territories.
Absolutely. So big picture, what's the takeaway for our listener after this deep dive into Aether Industries?
Well, I think it's clear that Aether is a company that's on the move, right?
They are. They're not afraid to innovate. They're financially sound. They're committed to sustainability. And while there are challenges, they seem well equipped to handle them.
They do. They really do. They've got a lot going for them.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see what the future holds for them.
It is. They're definitely a company to watch. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Aether Industries.
It was a pleasure being here.
Hope you found it insightful. Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.